All right, all right, all right. You're going to learn today. We're going to do something different today, man. If you are a follower of my, woman, you know how, gender equality. If you are a follower of this channel, you know that we primarily focus on me just talking about issues pertaining to our faith in the Lord and the scriptures and all those types of things, right? So we get into all of that. All right. We're going to do something different today. Because the one thing about algorithms, the gift and the curse of algorithms is this. If you watch a couple of videos on a topic, the algorithm is going to give you thousands of videos on that topic to the point where all of a sudden now your YouTube feed is filled with all these people commenting on a couple videos you watched. So it's a gift and a curse. Because you might have just clicked on the wrong video and watched it, or you might just be looking at something, but then all of a sudden you get all these videos, right? So I have been watching a lot of, I didn't follow the red pill movement, those guys. I saw snippets here and there, and I'm not really with like being just self-righteous towards people. I think in this modern era, you get, like, from the guy's perspective, you get a lot of guys who were really probably chumps in high school. Then they get a YouTube channel and then they blow up, and all of a sudden now you get to make all these comments about women because you couldn't get girls. All that type of stuff I think happens for real, right? So I don't really pay attention to that stuff, but I do like to listen to people who talk stats and facts. And there seems to be a commonality on perspectives on marriage and dating today. Now let me tell you why this is important to me primarily. I have 3 boys, right? They're teenagers, ages 16, 14, and 12. And I want my boys to be married one day. I want them to get married. And it's just changed a lot from when I was dating and looking for it. You could trust that the person that you're talking to was 99.99% born that gender, right? So, I've had to tell my sons jokingly but seriously, like, hey, son, look, if you get serious, man, before you get serious, man, you need to check birth certificate. You want to see kindergarten, middle school, and prom pictures, man. You want to see all that before you jump out there, right? So it's just stuff that I don't even have to deal with that my kids may have to deal with as it relates to marriage today. And I'm dead serious. I tell my kids, hey, man, check on that, man. You want to see middle school and prom pictures? Unless you knew her growing up, because you have no idea in this day and age. That's the wrong. Listen, I like catfish, but I like it when it's fried or grilled. I don't like it when it's a person, right? So I'm teaching my sons that. It's stuff I never had to think about. But this idea of dating and marriage being this, there's just the doom and gloom messaging on this. And I was just curious. So I watched videos about this a lot. And I just think it's fascinating. And so there's one video I saw I thought was really interesting. Because here's the thing. No one really has a good answer for it. And there's no one problem. You can't just say, oh, because men watch porn, that's why, or women just have hot. There's so many facets to the reality of this. But the statistics on marriage, based on the statistics on dating, are kind of gruesome. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're a believer, I'm a believer. Yeah, you trust the Lord, but don't act like trusting the Lord means everything's going to work out according to how you think life is going to work out, right? We all take Romans 8:28, all things work together for the good of those who love God, or those who are called according to his purpose. And we think that means whatever I think is good, God has for me. No, it's good according to God, right? It's good according to God. So you not having a child, even though you're praying for it, may be good according to God. You not getting married and being single, even though you desire it, may be good according to God, right? So we have to be careful. What good are we talking about? So just because you trust the Lord doesn't mean, oh, all this stuff is just going to work out for you wherever you want. So let's go. We're going to watch some of this. I think this is different for me. I don't usually talk about this a lot, but I don't feel like when I hear people have good perspectives on it, they don't feel like, I just think it's a problem that it's a God-sized hole and we're trying to solve it in ways that are not. All right. So we're going to watch a little bit of this video of this woman. She's explaining an article that she read. And the article is called The Dating Pool Dropouts by Olivia Reingold. It was written September 13, 2023. And let's hear her talk about this article and how it impacted her. Because I'm listening to her talk and I'm thinking like, wow. My sons are a little too young to be, but like my oldest son, I'm like, man, I might have to sit down and watch some of these videos with him just so he has the categories in his mind. I mean, he's still in high school, so, high school, it's a different world. You know how it is, right? But let's check this out. Stay with me in this because I got some thoughts on this. But let's watch some of this video. We're not going to watch the whole thing. Let's see what she's talking about this article.
I have never been more alone. I have nothing. No one.
Do you think men are important? Like for what? We'll take a break.
We need to kill all men. Kill male babies. Kill any man that you see, like, in the streets. I am sick of being a baby factory.
All right, here we go. Dating pool dropouts.
The Free Press, which is Barry Weiss's media company, wrote the juiciest article. It's called The Dating Pool Dropouts. If you watched my video essay called Why 63% of Men Have Left the Dating Pool, the writer, Olivia Reingold, basically found more context for why men are giving up on dating, and I was on the edge of my seat throughout this article. I just have to read this to you, and I'm not gonna read the entire thing, but just a couple of the key points that really blew my mind and resonated with me, and then I'll kind of react, and we're gonna get through this together. The article starts with a quote. Are you religious? The question made Jamal squirm. The answer was no, but he could tell his date wanted it to be yes. And after the hour-long drive to get here to a Caribbean restaurant in Orlando, Florida, he could tell it wasn't working. I think we should just be friends, the 36-year-old security guard remembers telling the girl he had dinner with last month after they met on Facebook. That was his first date in 3 years.
Hold on, I'm sorry. I ain't dated in a long time. You going on an hour-long drive for a date to dinner? Whew. So that's not even just the dinner date. That's gas, all of it, right? Y'all know since Biden came back in office, the gas price has been crazy. So that right there alone, I was like, ooh, man, it's rough out here. All right, and we just getting started.
Says he once went 6 months without getting a single match on a dating app, even though he pays $30 in monthly fees between OkCupid, Bumble, and Hinge. If you count high school, when he went to the movies with a classmate, Jamal says he's been on a total of 3 dates his entire life. And now, driving home from his date, it hit him like a ton of bricks. Why do I even do this at all? He trails off and then adds, I'm just not going to try anymore. It's not worth it.
Wow.
First thing I want to say is, why didn't he have this type of a conversation about like big ticket items, things like politics, religion, whatever? You've got to have these things before a first date when it comes to dating with dating apps.
Hold on. Listen, y'all, so she just said that if you use dating apps, that you gotta have the big ticket conversations like politics, religion, all of that before the first date. Dang! Are you serious, bro? Man, I remember the day. Let me just, spoiler alert. Let me tell you what killed real dating was like social media, and not in the way that like, oh, everyone just flips it. But like, man, when I grew up, and again, it's different, but I grew up, you saw a girl, you had to have the courage to ask her for a number, right? And so a woman would evaluate your game. You might not be everything she was looking for, but if you could talk to her, she could tell, like women's intuition, right? They could tell, like, oh, okay, I like the way he talks. They look at how you dress. You might be a little nervous, but women can be, in many ways, understandable to that because they, know how it's like to be nervous. And you had to walk up and get it, but now you just be like, hey, you got Instagram? Sure. Every person will give you their Instagram page primarily because you want more followers, right? So there's nothing about that. Hey, are you on Instagram? Sure. Boom. That means nothing. It just means I got another follower. It doesn't mean I'm willing to talk to you and all that. Oh, you on Facebook? Yep. I got someone who's, it doesn't mean anything. So like to me, without the men in particular have lost the skill of just how to talk to a woman, right? You just don't know how to talk. And even if you get shot down, you used to get shoot down and your friends would laugh at you, but that was experience because you knew how to talk to, you knew what was up. You got to think on your feet. When you're talking to a woman, or the opposite say, you got to think on your feet, man. You got to be quick with it, like boom, boom, boom. You got to be. So anyway, I just think you got to talk about politics, religion, and all that before. Whew. Well, this date nap stuff is wild. I can see why some of y'all struggling. All right, my bad. Let me let her talk.
I went on the Whatever podcast and I talked about this, and all of the guys in the chat were just so incredulous that I would ever talk about this stuff on a first date, let alone before one. And I'm like, what do you mean? This could totally be avoided if you made sure that your core values were at least aligned before you went on a first date. Anyway, let's keep going. The writer says he's one of a growing number of young men who are withdrawing from the dating pool. More than 6 in 10 men aged 18 to 29, she writes, are now single, up from about 5 in 10 in 2019, according to data from Pew Research Center. But part of it all boils down to this. It's hard for men to find partners at a moment when women are outpacing them both at school and work. Young women now hold 1.6 million more college degrees than men, and in a growing number of cities, including Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., and New York, they make as much as or more than their male counterparts. And
all right, so there's the other reason that I feel like nobody talks about why dating has become difficult in the modern era, and even marriage, right, is the stigmatization. Here's the one thing about like the whole gender explosion that I understood. Here's the one thing I understood. I don't agree with the 99% of it, right? But the one thing that made sense to me about like the pushback against gender distinctives was like girls have to like pink and boys wear blue, right? Girls can't. So when I grew up, like if a girl like was a little bit masculine, wanted to play basketball with us or might throw the football with us, she was considered a tomboy, right? It was like, you're not supposed to do those things. Boys are not. Now don't get me, I ain't with the whole boys play with Barbie dolls and all that. Like, nah, but I mean, if you like, you know, there were things that were like, oh, only guys are. So when there was pushback to some of those gender distinctives, some of it made sense. But those distinctives have also made their way into dating and marriage. So like, it blows my mind. Again, I'm old fashioned. It blows my mind that people, men, that there's a stigma like if the woman makes more than the man or has a college education and all of that, then that matters. Like somehow if the woman makes more or there's college, and she's college educated or then that will affect the dating and marriage. And that just is odd to me because like if you like say if you love somebody, I don't care how much you make. If you're my and you making money and we together, how does that determine the success of it? So there's a stigma that comes with dating and marriage that says men have to always make more, women cannot. And so when that dynamic changes, it messes up the quote unquote societal equilibrium as it pertains to marriage and dating standards. Like, where did this come from? Who decided that? I know that back in the day, men used to hunt and women nurture, but who decided that that has to be the case? Like, in all seriousness, mama, if you making a couple $100,000 and I'm not, and we love each other, let's get it. Let's get it. I just think that's crushed a lot of people, but what do I know?
Even if they become mothers, odds are 4 in 10 will become the breadwinners of their households. What discourages me so much is that most of the women that I've seen on dating sites, they want a man making as much as them, and they're making upwards of like $100,000, said Jamal, who tells the author he makes $55,000 a year. And he says, a lot of men are checking out. We're just tired. We're just tired of being told that we don't measure up either physically or financially. That financial pressure is what screws men over most, said Jess Carbino, the former in-house sociologist for Tinder and Bumble. Okay.
The sociologist for Tinder said that. Whew.
Now, that's someone that I would love to interview for the spillover. What a bizarre career.
Me too.
I digress. The traditional markers of adulthood, like buying a home, completing college, and getting married, are all becoming far harder to achieve. Many men perceive themselves to be far less marriageable, and in turn, many women perceive themselves to be less marriageable too. She says it's never been easy to be the average Joe in the dating market, but things are rougher now that the average man's salary, which hovers just above $61,000 in the US, is hardly enough to afford rent in most major American cities. And yet still, many women hold out for men who make not just as much or more than they do, but are also wildly attractive. But that's just like not even realistic. Guys are making, on average, around $60,000 a year. And
all right, so there you go. It's just like, I mean, you have to be able to make money to provide for a family, right? But the problem that I'm seeing, especially like with the social media, it's not that people are saying you need to make enough money so that we can have a family and own a home. The problem is, in our minds, American culture has shifted, right? I've said this before. We've changed in many ways. So there used to be like a leadership culture, like when you had like Martin Luther King, leaders in the 60s pronounce it. So now an influencer culture, right? Where now it's about, oh, this guy is popular and this is his brand and we're following him. And somehow because we like the way he looks or talks, we're going to support him. And now he has more wisdom than everyone else, right? There is a sense where The issue is not about how much money do you make so we can have children. The culture has changed from children to lifestyle, right? I want a certain lifestyle. And this is what I'm about to say, something that I feel like nobody is saying about the problems with dating and marriage in the modern era, is because you're dealing with the American dream ideology. That is what has changed everything, is that everyone wants the American dream and is entitled to their version of the American dream. And so now, even though you make 60 grand, who says that you have to be able to, a lot of people can't stay home, can't stay home and work. Two people can, if she made 60, you make 60, you can make some money, right? But it's not about, I'm not evaluating you. Women are not evaluating men based on, can they provide for a family? They want a lifestyle. They want a lifestyle. And men are not thinking like, oh, I want to provide for a family. Everyone wants a lifestyle. They want an Instagram lifestyle, and they don't realize how fake that is. So this is wild. I think this is one of the major reasons why dating and marriage has become, it's not just a financial issue, it's an ideological issue.
And we want them to be hot, and we want them to be 6 feet tall, and we want them to be hung like a horse. It's like an imaginary character that we've created in our heads as women, and then, it's discouraging the men. And so that's why they're like, you know what? I don't even want to do this anymore. While the sexual revolution freed women from depending on men for income or stability, it also means they can privilege more frivolous qualities in a mate. This is what Rob Henderson, a psychology PhD with a Substack, said. People used to care a bit more deeply about moral character and hard work, he said, and whether the person was an ethical and upstanding citizen. And now you don't have to worry about that quite as much. And you can sort of focus on things that are just like, more immediate, like attraction. The result? Men at the tip top of the dating pool are getting everything, and the men who don't have it all get nothing. If guys...
All right, so this is a good point, because I've never been on a dating app. So, but from what I know of them, I mean, it's just in general, if dating apps are going to largely be driven by your picture, your photo. So if you don't have the best, this is why people be learning Photoshop. You got Bammers out here learning Photoshop to slim down a little bit, make them cheekbones a little bit more pronounced. But then when they see you in person, won't. Like, this is the problem, right? So you got all this stigma, all this desire, all this, and you see it coming together, and it's like, bam! It's all ideological. It's all these weird expectations. This is crazy.
Are biologically hardwired to be the provider, to be the breadwinner, to take care of a family, and then all the women are doing that for them, it kind of like makes a guy feel like, what am I even here for? Male commenters bemoan that they're held to the 666 rule, which mandates they be 6 feet tall, make 6 figures, and have 6 inches or more downstairs. The writer says the men I spoke with, ranging from ages 17 to 33 and living in rural New Jersey to Austin, Texas, said they felt overlooked in a competitive dating market where women often list salary requirements and height preferences on their profiles. To see if things were as bad as they claimed, the writer says she joined 2 major dating platforms, Tinder and Hinge, and posed as a hip 30-year-old business owner with a full head of hair and a degree from NYU. A few swipes in, she says she spotted a busty blonde leaning over in a halter dress with the caption, "Together we could find out if you're lying about your height." Then a 22-year-old captured in a selfie in her work cubicle with her cleavage resting on her desk wrote, "Don't super like me if you're ugly, I already have a lot going on." The way girls come across on dating apps sometimes is incredibly rude. As single...
All right, so you know what? This is what we need to do. We need to create a dating website called The Beholder, right? Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Because first of all, there are modern views of beauty do change. And here's the crazy part, right? I'm going to say something really wild, but this is to make a point, not that I wish this happens, all right? This is just to make a point. I don't wish this happened to anyone, all right? So don't take this the wrong way. But I want to make a point. I wish more people who were really attractive got married and then one of them got into a car accident and then were disfigured and no longer had the looks. Because you still are married to that person. You still have to love that person. And that's the problem. This is another issue on why the dating and marriage is failing. It's because everything is based on attraction, right? First of all, let's just keep it 1,000. There's no such thing as love at first sight. There's no such thing as love at first sight. There's lust at first sight. There's attraction, desire, would love to be with them, would love to have sex with them. But love is a straight up and down commitment. Like, love doesn't have to do anything with lust. Lust at first sight is one, but we call it love. And so everyone thinks I have to be in love. It has to be based on a physical attraction, which is lust. And don't get me wrong, I don't think but beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I know people, you ever seen a couple where like, man, how did that dude get her? Or man, wow, he's with her. I think there's a lack of the beholder. I might start a dating website called The Beholder, where you can't be on here where you can't even look at somebody's looks. That's what you do. Start a website, a dating website called The Beholder, and it's not based on looks. It's all based on who they are as a person. And you can't even see them until you've had 2 or 3 conversations with them. That's the problem. We've made everything about attraction and looks. We've confused ourselves that love is it's really just lust. And so when people lose that lust towards a person, I'm not as attracted to him anymore. She's put on some weight. He's put on some weight. Then it becomes, I don't love them anymore. It's like, okay, you're not as attracted to him, but love is such a deeper thing. Love is a commitment. That's where the for better, for worse comes in marriage. That's a love statement. That's not a lust statement. A lust statement, lust is what brought us together. Love is what keeps us together. So the beholder, don't take it from me. And if you do, remember I said it first, all right? The beholder, no picture, just data, and you can only talk to each other. And after the 3rd conversation, then you can see each other. You'd be shocked how many people actually like each other and enjoy talking to each other that may not necessarily be physically attracted. And if you can like and enjoy someone, especially women, you can get past some of the physical issues that you might not like. But what do I know? All right.
Single women, we need to do a better job of how we're coming across on dating apps, for sure. One thing that is a huge pet peeve of mine is guys make a huge mistake of being like, I don't know what I'm looking for. Like, I'm here to find that out. Like, I don't know if I'm looking for something serious. You need to be honest and you need to be upfront and you need to be clear. I'm looking for something serious or I'm looking for something casual. It's frustrating because as I'm reading this, I understand the problem. I understand how we get the red pill men. I understand how we get men that feel disenfranchised and like they're never going to meet any standards that modern women have. And so they just want to drop out completely.
I have not interacted with a female that is not related to me in over 3 years.
They're mostly young men, usually virgins,
That's
who
crazy.
can't find a romantic or sexual partner.
I must become more attractive. It's my last chance.
What do you think when you see a woman on the street?
I don't feel like I live in the same society as her. I think that every woman who encounters me on the street is inherently disgusted by me.
But I also know, on the other hand, that's such a problematic solution to this. There has to be a better way. But even the alphas are feeling the squeeze. One New York City-based psychologist, David Gordon, says many of the high-powered men he treats, including doctors, lawyers, and financiers, fret over their ability to attract a woman despite their enviable salaries or careers. The red pill guys are like, well, alphas get everything. No, it looks like it's not the case. So the psychologist says it's kind of sad or tragic, but some guys will look at their bank accounts, stocks, or credit score every day as if it's some sort of measure of their value. We can look at the numbers and I'm like, dude, looks pretty good to me. And still, there's this anxiety around, is this enough?
Again, there it is. It's the American dream ideology. It's think about what the American dream is. If we're being honest, the American dream is not about freedom of religion, freedom of speech, none of that stuff. Especially today. Maybe that's what they had in mind. But when we think about what the American dream is today, the reason why people leave their countries to become an American is not because we got better water, better school, none of that. It's because of money. The American dream ideology is this idea that financial success is the most important thing. And I need to be, because I have things that I want to do, there's a lifestyle that I want. I want the lifestyle of the 1%, even though there's less than a 1% chance I'll get it. And so it's based on attraction, and then attraction based on opportunities, based on money. It's just, that's the problem. So even these doctors, these dudes are checking their credit scores every day, and it still says there's anxiety. Is this enough? It's fascinating to me. I see this kind of worldly idea creeping into young men and women. 100%, bro. 100%. I think I knew a lot of Christian dudes who supported like Andrew Tate, Red Pill, Fresh and Fit, all those guys. And it was like, you know what, man? And they take that and say, this is biblical masculinity. Look, those guys say some true things, no question. Women, everyone is delusional. It's not just women, it's men. Everyone's delusional. But women have become more delusional in this day and age. They've become more delusional in their expectations. But let's just be clear, though. Guys are usually the most superficial. Every guy wants to marry a woman that every other guy thinks is pretty. right? And so that's the fantasy. I mean, who fantasizes about being in third place, right? Everyone fantasizes about being in first place. Every guy fantasizes about having a woman that other people think is attractive, that's beautiful. And it's like, bruh, it's just unrealistic. First of all, most of you just probably an ugly dude yourself. Like everyone's trying to hit above their weight class. And let's be clear, women, because they have God created men and women differently, but women have the anatomy that men desire. And so men are going to be drawn to that no matter what. But the reality is when we're talking about partnerships and marriage, no one's thinking about like the person. Like once the looks go, if they got into a car accident, what if I know people that got married and then shortly after the husband got MS out of nowhere. Like they didn't even see it coming. All of a sudden he's in a wheelchair months later. And it's like, what? But they're married. She can't be like, oh, I didn't sign up for this. I was attracted to you, but now I'm not. I'm telling you, the American dream ideology is killing dating and marriage because everyone thinks mating is about lifestyle, right? It's about lifestyle, and it's not. It's about lust, not love. And people are getting rocked. And I got to raise my boy. I'm raising my boys, and they got to deal with this stuff. This is crazy.
The author says she talked to men who described a fear around approaching women and worrying that one wrong move and they'll be labeled creepy for asking out a girl at work, for example.
That's the other thing.
She goes into the cost of an average date. And boy, was this eye-opening and also convicting. The average date in the US, she wrote, comes with a $159 price tag, which costs more than 10 hours of work for those making $15 an hour wage. It started getting so expensive for one bachelor, a 26-year-old banker, that he moved from Los Angeles, where rent averages around $3,000, to an apartment in Appalachia, where
Hey, listen, hold on. $159 for a date? Let's be practical for a second. $159 for a date, right? This will largely be food that you don't finish, right? So you're going to get some food. You're going to have maybe some leftovers or whatever. $159 for a date. Let's be practical. $159 in the grocery store can feed a person for 2 weeks, depending on how you use it. I mean, $159 for my family would be like a third of our grocery bill, something like that, right? That's a lot of food for $159. You got eggs, bread, milk, vegetables, some frozen meats, all of that. This is so crazy. It's so crazy that like that's a date. If I was a dude, I would be, this is why I said, look, man, I wish there was a dating app for people who could, let's get to know each other without being, I remember when Instagram did this as an experiment. They took away likes or they still do it, allow you to remove the likes, right? Remove that. So people just look at your photo. And it was really interesting because the people who have the highest likes are always going to get more likes. And the people who don't. But when you took away the likes and you just evaluated what you're looking at the photo, like photographers, just evaluating the photo, they were shocked at how the average person, a dude with 500 followers, was getting more likes than a person who had 130,000 followers, right? It's all of that stuff is just a perception. And it's like we've made our society focus so much on physical attraction and stuff that everything, and people think that physical attraction is like this eternal category. Like you want to be with somebody that makes you laugh, that can support you, that has your back. They can be pretty or not as pretty as you want it, but like at the end of the day, here's the thing, keep this in mind. If you think I'm lying, remember this stat. Supermodels get divorced. Supermodels get divorced. The Hollywood people get divorced. All the beautiful people, they said in Hollywood, a 5-year marriage is equivalent to 30 years in the world. Because of the pressures, it's Hollywood. All the beautiful people, them folks get divorced. The best looking people get divorced. It ain't about that, but that's the culture. It's the American dream ideology. It's all about lifestyle and finances. It's not about, women don't want a guy who makes $60,000 because that's not supporting a lifestyle. They're not thinking about children. They're thinking about, well, we can't travel here. We can't do this. I can't be on the gram duck facing and all that stuff. Crazy times. Crazy time. I feel for everyone that's dating right now. Crazy times.
where he and a friend now pay $500 each a month, $150 or so for a first date. I think too much for a first date. Here's what I'm gonna say. I am a huge fan of first date ice cream or coffee. or one drink. Don't put too much effort and commitment into a first date because you don't know if you're going to be into each other. Don't waste the money. Nobody has the extra money to spend. Girls should be more understanding of this. Like, you need to be okay with just drinks or ice cream or whatever. You know, living in LA, $159 for dinner when your rent is $3,000 a month. Like, there's absolutely no way. And if you're really dating and you're wanting to find someone to spend the rest of your life with, think about that. That's got to be a couple dates a month at least. Like, nobody can afford this. The US marriage rate is the lowest it's been in over a century, with a quarter of 40-year-olds having never married. In 1980, only 6% of adults fell into that camp. It's a trend that continues even though research shows married people are happier. Americans today discourage commitment now, says Stephen Mosher, the lead demographer at the Population Research Institute. He said the expectation 50 years ago was that everyone would eventually get married and have children, and now that expectation is gone. Already, an increasing number of women are going it alone as mothers, freezing their eggs and using sperm donors to procreate. At some point in the future, Mosher says, the family, the fundamental unit of society, could completely break down. He said, we're going to have children born from sperm donors with no fathers, eggs, and embryos frozen, suspended indefinitely until someone wants to add a child to her life.
Wow. Now, I don't know if she realizes this. I don't know if she realizes what she just said. But here's the other issue that I think no one is talking about, or why marriage and dating is challenging. She just said that already an increasing number of women are going at it alone as mothers, freezing their eggs and using sperm donors to procreate. At some point in the future, Marsha says, the family, the fundamental unit of society, could completely break down. Here's the other reason why that no one is saying this. That right there is the strategy of Satan. We have to keep in mind, remember that marriage and children is not a Christian ordinance, it's a creation ordinance, right? God created male and female, and then he gave them to each other to have families, right? So that is a human ordinance. Like, that's the thing. And if I'm the enemy, if I can break down the family unit, I break down one of the fundamental ways that God created society to operate in his stead. To be made in God's image is to be different in person, right? But of the same essence. Men and women are of the same essence. We're all dust. We all come from the dust. When God made Eve, he didn't make her from the dust. He took her from Adam, right? And he didn't breathe into her the breath of life, right? He did that to Adam. So he breathed into Adam the breath of life. Adam watched him make every creature from the ground except Eve. That's why when Adam woke up, he was like, whoa, this is flesh of my flesh and bone of my bone, because no other creature had been made like that. No other creature had been made like that. Because God, that was a Trinitarian dynamic, because he breathed into Adam and gave him this breath of life, sort of a soul, right? Then when he creates Eve, he takes her from Adam. So she takes part of his soul, because he doesn't breathe into Eve a breath of life, and she doesn't come from the ground at the same essence. So part of being made in the image of God and then being able to create families is how God creates. He's a creator. So that's a fundamental part of what it means to be made in the image of God. And if Satan can attack that and make marriage and stuff gross and have women just donate their eggs with no fathers, all the stuff in ways that success, well done. Good job, Satan. So that's the other reason why there's spiritual warfare as it relates to marriage and dating. And that's a huge, huge problem. Wow. I mean, she has a little bit more to say, but I don't even be wanting my videos to be 30 minutes long. Them joints be just long John Silvers with it. First of all, I got 3 sons that I gotta hope can get through this. And I talked to them about this a little bit, not too much, because I don't want him to be too distracted by it, especially my oldest son. But this is crazy stuff. Like, there is anxiety. The fact that that anxiety is so prevalent, it's all because it's all based on superficial things. How much money do I have? How do I look? And all of it. And it's like, ask anyone who's been married longer than a few months. Ask anyone that's been married. Physical attraction will draw you, but it won't keep you. It won't. I've been on dates with my wife where she looked incredible. We got into a conflict, and the last thing I wanted to do was touch her. I just didn't want to talk to her. The ride home was silent pretty much. She got home, changed clothes, went to bed. I went downstairs and watched TV. Right? That stuff, all these things that people think, it's not what it is. And I think this is the last thing I'm going to say, that I think married couples should start doing people who are married, there should be a website, some type of dating app it should be called the wedding the wedding whisperer, right? Where marriages, people who are married are telling people, hey, this is what marriage is really like. This is what really matters when you've been married at 5, 10, 15 years. The things that matter to you right now don't matter later. So yeah, you might think she's, oh, he's a little shorter than you, but this guy makes you laugh. He cares about you. He loves you. He doesn't make much money now, but people grow. We're all works in progress. No one who you meet is going to stay how they are unless there's some kind of intellectual or physical deformity. Everyone grows. Everyone progresses. It's just a reality. I wish more people who were married talked more about what marriage is really like and what you should really care about, because this happens. And even in the church, somebody said this. Yeah, it is creeping in the church today. 100%, Daryl. I think I said this earlier. It's creeping in the church. I think in the church, man, we're so inundated with the Andrew Tates and guys. We think that's all this masculinity and all that. Like, that's the problem. Like, there is no genuine sense of, hey, who has wisdom? All these people that quote all this stuff, they don't even, like this girl, she's not even married. So like all the people that have all this advice about dating and marriage, most of them aren't even married. So that's just wild to me. So it's a lot to work through. There's no easy solutions. So it's hard to do this. All right, last thought. Do you have any advice for dating? Definitely be struggling with that. That's a hard question, man, because I don't know what your struggles are. When you're talking about do you have advice for dating, because so I do not think that all dating advice is one size fits all. I just think sometimes there are things that are particular to a person. But if I were going to say something broader, I would say I would never date. Like if you have values, right? I don't know if you're a believer or not, what your values are. If you have values, especially if you have values as a believer, as a Christian, if you compromise those values for the purpose of being in love and dating, I think you'll regret it at some point, shape, or form. I'm not saying that all people who do that have terrible marriages. No, but I think it's like if you're a woman, right, and you meet a guy and you really like him, and he says he's a believer and all this stuff, but he's willing to have sex with you because at some point he tells you he loves you. Listen, anyone who says they love you but would sin with you, would compromise God's standards, which could potentially put you in eternal punishment. Like, let's just be clear. We believe that we'll be forgiven when we sin, and we should because the Bible says that. But we don't know if we get into a sexual relationship with someone that's sinning against the Lord and it's repeated. We don't know how he's going to view that. No one has come back from eternity like, hey, God's okay with you having sex with a person if you love them 7 to 10 times, but after that, you might go to hell if you keep it up. We have no idea, right? So how, if a person genuinely loves you, but will compromise standards that God has, that could potentially mess up your relationship with God, that person doesn't love you. They love how you make them feel. They love the physical pleasure of touching you, whatever that is. So I just think as a grand rule, no matter what you believe or not, everyone has standards. Do not compromise whatever those standards are for the purpose of love, because you could do that and then you might regret it. And I know many people that have. I know couples that compromised while dating, and then when they got married, they just had some challenges. There were issues where you didn't see it coming, but the wife ended up struggling with trusting him because he wasn't able to be strong when they were dating. So that's a general rule. I'd have to, more specific questions. Maybe we'll do like a Q&A one day. We just answer specific questions to a person's thing. But I think, yeah, it's a wild time. And I apologize for all people who are really struggling, who want to honor the Lord. So as best as you can, just honor the Lord. Continue to honor the Lord. I mean, in all seriousness, marriage, dating, sex, children, all of that stuff is what is considered biblically the former things. Jesus said we'll be like angels not married or given in marriage when we get to heaven. That doesn't make it like, that's not what I'm saying. I hate when people who are married tell you don't worry about marriage. No. I think I understand why you want to do that. All of us got married because we want to get married. But I think that the guarantee is your conviction to honor the Lord. Don't give that up for the possibility of being in a relationship, because it doesn't always work that way. All right, that was just some general rule. Having said that, man, I got to get out of here. I'm working on this book, and I got to get back to writing. And my kids are coming home soon. I might tell them, don't watch this video. Don't be a dating dropout, all right? Go to KurtKennedy.com, man. Get the merch. Like and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate y'all for riding with me. I will see y'all later on. I might do another one later on today on something different or tomorrow. But thank y'all for riding with me. Like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment. Go to Patreon. Send me a link. Hit me with a cash app. Do something. Give your boy some love. It's 2024. All right, y'all. Grace and peace. Stay strong out there.